Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy on the East Coast, Nate Weitzer. Nice little article up on playpicks.com for you guys, some best bets and DFS strategy for tonight's NBA slate from Nate. Make sure you guys check that out and make sure you are liked and subscribed to the video and page. Jump in the comments. Let us know who you guys are betting on tonight. And we'll be having a gift card opportunity for you all in just a bit this week, so stay tuned. And as always, if you do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find all those local listings, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get it for the 10th of May.
Yes, sir. A final week of the regular season, fellas, and we have a juicy 6-game slate. Some really good DFS angles to choose from, as well as some bets. The lines are Pacers minus 8.5 at Cavs, Wizards plus 8 without Bradley Beal at the Hawks. The Pelicans are plus 9 at Grizzlies. They basically ruled out Zion and Ingram for the rest of the year. Bucks are minus 6.5 at Spurs. The Jazz minus 3 at Warriors. And the Rockets, the youthful Rockets, plus 15 at Blazers. So, Josh, where are you putting your hard-earned money tonight?
Yeah, I'll kick it off with the Warriors and Jazz. It's a nice small spread. I think people are realizing that the Warriors did beat the Jazz in their last meeting by 12 at pretty much full strength there. And one of the reasons I think we see that is Rudy Gobert's inability often to guard the pick and roll, which is exactly what they've started doing with Steph at a much higher rate this year after Steve Kerr started feeling that pressure from all over to start running some more pick and rolls with Steph, which has led to about 12.5 3-point attempts a game, shooting that at almost 43% a clip. Pretty absurd, unseen before. In their last matchup, he did what he does, 32 points on 50% from the field. As you said, a 12-point win there. Still, they're only 23rd in offensive rating despite Curry's incredible season. But they are 5th in defensive rating, specifically during non-garbage time minutes. Definitely helped by Draymond and his performances. So I do think their defense tonight actually is something to look at. Utah's going to be playing 3 games in 4 nights. They're also not going to still have, Conley and Mitchell, as they got about a game and a half lead in the 1 seed there. So I'm not sure there's much reason to see them at all this week. Unless it's just to get them a little bit of run. But, they're okay. They're definitely still very good. Since Mitchell went down, they're 8-4. They still have the second best net rating. And they shoot a ton of threes, which, the Warriors are not great at defending the 3 this year, despite their pretty good defense. But I still really like the ability for Curry to score a ton of points tonight, really put Gobert in that blender, make him really uncomfortable, and then be able to dish out and find open players on the wing. Without Conley, they're much worse on defense as well. Does not help, guarding Steph when Conley doesn't play. They're about 9 points worse in their defensive rating. So I'm liking a little bit of the Warriors value there. I think I'll put some on the money line and even take 3 points and probably tease it up with a game I'll talk about here in a sec.
Yeah, I mean, I trust the Warriors to score in this matchup. As you mentioned, Gobert's kind of a disaster in pick and roll, but I trust the Jazz to come right back. So I'm not comfortable betting on the Warriors to win. I was just glancing at some props though. If you're that confident about Steph scoring, taking him over 35.5 points or over 4.5 assists, if the pick and roll game is working really well, that's a pretty low prop on FanDuel. You get minus 140 for the over, but I think he gets over that pretty easily. Also, Draymond getting over 8.5 assists. This seems like kind of one of those Draymond statement games against the league-leading Jazz, right, where he steps up and maybe even gets a triple-double. So I would look at those angles. The game I feel most confident about, and a lot of people are betting on the Pacers against the Cavs, who have clearly packed it in. They've lost 10 straight and have not covered in any of those games. Darius Garland, C.D. Osman, close to doubtful tonight. Kevin Love played through an injury last night. Larry Nance is out. The Cavs have nothing to play for. The Pacers are fighting for every inch of play-in seeding that they can get. They're also fighting for their head coach's job, which apparently they responded very well to when they beat the Hawks and then only lost by 1 to the Wizards, only due to another ridiculous Russ line and performance down the stretch. But the Pacers are playing very well, as we know, offensively, especially sending 7 of their last games, 8 games over, averaging 126 points per game and shooting nearly 41% from three in that span. They also allow a ton of points, so the over is a popular bet, but I'm not trusting the Cavs to score much at all. They scored 102 points per game in that 10-game stretch. However, they give up 122.3 in their last 8 home games, giving up league-high percentages, including 52.5% from the field. They give up the second most paint points at home, and the Pacers are scoring the third most paint points overall. Karis LeVert, Domantas Sabonis just owning the paint down there. So my angle first is the Pacers just getting over 119.5. I actually got that a little lower earlier in the day, but I think that's where it stabilized. So will they score 120? I think so. And I think if they score about 120, and I don't trust the Cavs to get over 110, then yeah, I feel great about this spread. And I feel even better if you could tease it down, considering how bad the Cavs have been lately and how little they seem to care.
Totally. Yeah. And as you said, the Pacers, they do seem to have something still left to play for. We're continuing to look for angles of motivation here in the very last week of the season. Speaking of motivation, I believe the Hawks are incredibly motivated right now. You look at where they sit in the Eastern Conference standings. They are currently 5th, 1 game behind the Knicks, tied, owning the tiebreaker. They own the tiebreaker for the 5th seed over the Heat. But they are tied in the standings. So there's a lot to play for this last week, and they're taking on the Wizards tonight, who I'm eyeing because they do not have Bradley Beal already ruled out for tonight. And what that means for Washington when Bradley Beal doesn't play this season, they're 1-8 without him. Their offensive rating drops 5 points, and they score about 12 points less a game than when he does play, which is an incredible number. And then they are on the road tonight. They score 6 points less than at home. The under hits at about 55% when they are on the road. In Atlanta, it conversely is incredible at home this season. 14-5 against the spread when they're the home favorite, good for second best in the league. And they're 21-11 against the spread at home overall in general. And they are going to have all the rest of their games at home, which is really good for them. In their last 7, they've got a net rating of over 15 at home, 7-0 in that time frame. So, you look at why the role players specifically, which is what you expect at home, Danilo, Lou Will, Clint Capella, all shoot 10 percentage points better from the field at home than they do on the road. And they also shoot much better from 3, 2 percentage points better at home from 3-point than when they are on the road. And Washington does not defend the 3 well at all. As we know, they're about 8th worst guarding that 3-point line. So I do like the 7.5 points does not scare me at all. I do want to tease that down and tease the Warriors up a bit as well to get a little bit extra value there. And then also I think a book it kind of bet is Trae Young, more than 3 threes made in a win gets you plus 250 on your money. I love his ability to do that at home, pulling off about 8 attempts a game. I do believe he can make at least 3 of those today. So those are the angles that I'm looking at in that game tonight.
Yeah, and you also like the under, right? Considering how much the Wizards struggle offensively without Beal, how good the Hawks have been on defense at home. I'd be a little worried about a blowout with the Hawks scoring, something like 130 as we saw last week against the Suns when they're highly motivated at home. But I think the Wizards know they're going to have to win this game by just being gritty on defense without Beal, and Westbrook kind of sets the tone for that. So I think, we could stay under 237 here.
Definitely.
A game I'm definitely liking the under is the Grizzlies hosting the Pelicans. Everyone sees Pelicans and assumes, tons of points. That has not been the case at all lately. They've gone under in 8 of their last 9 and actually have the best defensive rating in the NBA during that span, allowing the 6th fewest paint points. They've covered in 6 straight on the road, and I actually expect this trend to increase more with Zion out. Zion's not a good defender at all. I mean, first of all, and he's a great offensive player, so the under's going to continue to go out. James Johnson will step in. He is a good defender, and I really like what Jackson Hayes and Willie Hernangomez bring defensively more than Steven Adams in the modern NBA. Those guys are switchable. Jackson Hayes had a career-high 6 blocks last night. It all adds up to a really good defensive approach against a Grizzlies team that, for the second year in a row, completely depends on paint points, right? So the Grizzlies, if they've been struggling horrendously on offense lately, 24th in rating over their last 9, and at home, 27th in rating, dead last in field goal percentages. They're 13 and 19 against the over at home overall this year. We've talked about those splits. Their home games average just 220, so I don't really understand why we're seeing a total around 228, considering the Pelicans have been awful on offense too, and best defensive rating. So I'm looking at the under, and I'm also looking at counting on the Grizzlies to go under 117 and a half. Their team total, get about even money on FanDuel. I think, the Pelicans just motivated with those young guys getting a shot. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's back. That's another great defender. And I think they will be fine on a back-to-back and ready to play some D tonight.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. With such a small slate tonight, probably some pretty interesting DFS plays, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, in that game, you had Jackson Hayes. I mentioned James Johnson. I'd lock them in. If Jaren Jackson Jr. plays for the Grizzlies, he could have a pretty nice game against a Pelicans team that allows you to fire from the perimeter. Tonight is really all about the Houston Rockets value bargain bin to me. They have guys who are just coming straight out of the G League and firing away. Kyrie Thomas, Armani Brooks, Daquan Jeffrey stand out as the best plays there, all of them under 5K on FanDuel. And if you go cheap with them, you might be able to get guys like Westbrook. I would definitely look at Karis LeVert and Domantas Sabonis against the Cavs, maybe coming back with Colin Sexton, hoping the Cavs keep that close. And if you can't afford Westbrook, I mean, Raul Neto will get a plenty of run with Bradley Beal out. And Rudy Gobert, which we didn't really touch on in the Warriors segment, but he averages 16.3 rebounds per game his last 5 against the Warriors. So he's a pretty solid cash play at center. And I would also look at some of his rebounding props there. That's definitely something to look at, the way the Warriors play with pace.
Yep. Love that. We'll be looking at all of that with you tonight for sure, Nate. That is all the time that we have for today, y'all. As always, make sure you are liked and subscribe to that page. Jump in the comments. We're having some fun seeing who you guys are betting on. I'll be in there with you guys tonight. And as for tomorrow, we'll be back with another show for sure. Have that opportunity for a gift card coming up this week. And as for tonight, happy betting.